For years, I've taught elementary school, but this year, I'll be teaching middle school. I'll be starting at a new school in less than a month. I've been really excited about it, actually. Orientation for me was actually just before summer started, so I've been able to get my classroom set up and I've been familiarizing myself with the school. I've been the only one there on most days, especially in the beginning. I think the novelty is worn off for some of the teachers, so they're not as inclined to show up more than they need to. I sort of enjoyed the quiet. I knew the halls would be filled soon enough. So, as I said, I've been excited. I'm still excited, but there's definitely something strange about this school. Specifically the second floor, where my classroom sits. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to name the school, but it's truly not that old of a building, only having been standing since the late 1980s. It's also located smack dab in the middle of a pretty well-known, populated area. I guess all this to say that it never really struck me as the type of place that could be haunted. It wasn't ominous by any means. But I think maybe it could be. I don't usually get involved in anything fantastical, right? I'm not one who actively believes in ghosts. I don't dismiss everything I don't understand, obviously, but still, ghosts? I've just never thought about it much as a topic at all. I mean, I teach children, so ghosts just haven't been part of my lesson plan. Why do I think this, though? What brought me here? I'll say it as it is or as it was, and then maybe someone with some experience can explain to me what's going on. About a week ago, I decided to bring my plants into the classroom. There's this window that faces the sun during the day, and that's where I'm going to have the reading nook. I bring 4 of my plants from home, all very easy to care for. A snake plant, aloe, and a couple of ponytail palms. All pretty drought resistant, and they like the sun. These plants have survived 2 moves, 1 across country. They've been with me for over 6 years. I set them up, no problem. As I'm leaving my classroom, it's early evening. I turn around to give my room that final proud look before heading out. The leaves on one of the palms seems to move. Strange. I wasn't near the nook before leaving. The window is closed. I didn't dive into the strangeness further. Instead, I just headed to my car and I made the trip home. I go back the following day, actually the following morning. I remember that the file folder on my desk actually has registration for CPR. I'm expected to complete the class the following day. Without the forms, I have to pay over $100 out of pocket. And let's be honest, there's not a middle school teacher in the United States who can afford to let that kind of money just slip away. Not willingly. So I walk into my classroom, head straight to my desk, and the folder's not there. Without too much effort, I find it on the ground, just to the right of the desk. It must have gotten knocked over. As I lean down to pick it up, I hear a door in the distance shut. I never heard it open, but I absolutely heard it shut. Grabbing the folder, I fast walk into the hallway, thinking that maybe I'll see another staff member. I see nothing. I head back inside to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Last minute, I decide to check on my plants. I know they're fine, but it's good to talk to them. But when I do, I notice that they're not fine at all. I have no idea how, but they're all practically on the verge of death. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a bit emotional in that moment. First, I've had these plants for years, but secondly, it all feels like some sort of bad sign. From alive to dead, less than 24 hours in a new space, this was unreal. With a slight change of plans, I decided that I should take the plants home, try to revive them. As I take down the smaller plant that I had hanging, I hear and then see one of the palm's dead leaves start to move. What I felt was a bit creepier, though. With the movement of the plant's leaves, I feel a rush of air near my legs. The only way to describe it is it felt like someone had run past me. I hear nothing immediately, but in the distance, I hear smaller, quieter footsteps. I keep removing the plants and I place them in the large box I use to transport them. I start my walk down the long hallway towards the stairs. As I do, I peek through each classroom, searching for my mystery person. But the school, it's empty. Just to be sure, I go to the main custodial area. On one occasion, I've seen the janitor there, but when I arrive, it's clear that they haven't made it in yet. Outside of the sun filtering through the various windows, the school is still dark. Realizing that I'm alone, but that I've been hearing things, feeling things, I quicken my pace and I make my way down the stairs. As I do, several pairs of footsteps build behind me. I don't turn around, but I do run. Right as I hit the last step, I feel coldness touch my legs. I feel a rush of wind past, not by me, but through me. As it passes, I lose the grip on the box that I'm holding, and by no control of my own, I drop it, and the box lands on the floor, spilling the contents all over the bottom of the stairs. I sat in the parking lot for almost an hour, just waiting for the janitor to show up. They never did show up, and I never did go back inside that day. The following day, I went back, this time around noon, hoping that others might be there and hoping to run into the janitor. When I went inside, everything near the bottom of the stairs had been cleaned up. I figured that the janitors must have shown up and taken care of the mess. I couldn't really bring myself to go back to my classroom that day. So, seeing that the mess had been cleaned up, I feel better about leaving, and I head to my CPR class. In the class, there are 3 teachers from my school. During class, they ask how I'm liking my classroom. Do I have everything I need? Aside from telling them how excited I am, I mention the mishap with my plants, mainly the part where they all died. I left out the other piece to avoid being the crazy new teacher. But it's interesting that when I mention the plants, one of them offers some strange advice. If you're putting them on the windowsill, that could be part of the problem. Try hanging them higher or keeping them away from that window. I tell him that these are drought-resistant plants, that they actually like full sun. Look, it could be superstition, but people have always had issues when trying to block that window, if you will. Plants die, shelves fall. It's just something I've noticed, that's all. The other 2 teachers sort of dismiss him. They certainly don't seem to agree with this man or take him very seriously. But I think I do. As much as I have no idea what to think, I'm also sound of mind. My experiences are my experiences, and you can't tell me that I didn't feel what I felt. Maybe you could debunk it, but can you explain how 2 of my plants ended up back in my classroom? Our janitor said that they had cleaned them up, but they'd set the plants in their very sad state in the office staff lounge area. Yet, 2 of my plants were sitting in my classroom. Not near the window, but just beside my desk. Each time I've gone back since, I haven't been alone. Other staff members have been present, so the noises I've heard could be explained as someone else. But the footsteps, they're not like the ones I heard on the stairs. Even the doors closing don't sound the same. So, is someone, or a group of someones, severely messing with me? Or is my new school haunted? Usually twice a month, I deliver 5-gallon water jugs to my daughter's elementary school. Not because I'm some sort of hero or something. I work for the water company that the school district contracts through. This will be my daughter's second year attending this school. It's a newer one, renovated the year before we moved. An easy way to explain the school's layout is describing it as a capital I. The front block is the office and library. Then one long hallway that has 2 classrooms on each side, with a big frosted glass window in between. At the end of that hallway is the last block. Going left or right, it leads you to the classrooms. Going straight leads you to the staff lounge. My routine has been to drop one off in the front office and one off in the staff lounge. During the school year, I usually pop into my daughter's classroom and say hello before I leave. But during summer break, I've been dropping the jugs off with the weekend janitor. My daughter's first year was a weird one. The natural stress of transitioning to a new school was expected, but my daughter had a great teacher and quickly found a good group of friends. One day in November, my daughter comes home looking rather sad. I ask her how her day was, and she tells me she doesn't want to talk about it. My daughter's a very outspoken girl and a great communicator for her age, so her not wanting to talk about the things happening in her day, it was strange. After multiple questions regarding why she looked so sad, my persistence was rewarded with the slurry of tears that she'd obviously held back all day. She told me that her hall pass had been stolen while she was using the bathroom in one of the stalls. She tells me there's a hook on the outside of the stall door for them to hang up the hall passes while using the bathroom. Each classroom has 2 different hall passes. She explains the girls' hall pass is a rope tied to a cowbell. The boys is a novelty giant eraser, and they both have a G on them for Miss G's class. My daughter tells me that while she was in the stall, looking down, she could see the bottom of a girl's yellow dress on the other side of the door. Then she heard the cowbell shake and the feet outside of her stall run away. She told this to her teacher, but her teacher didn't believe her because nobody in her class had a yellow dress on. To prove a point, she and Miss G went to the other 2 classrooms in the unit to find the girl, but nobody had a yellow dress. Then, when Miss G went to check the girl's bathroom, she found the hall pass. Her teacher must have thought that she was trying to lie about forgetting it, so she kept my daughter in from the last recess that day. It broke her world thinking her teacher had marked her as a bad kid. It's difficult explaining to a child how little of a blip this was in her adult teacher's life, and that her reputation hadn't been tarnished even the slightest by this incident. I have an opportunity to check in later that week, and all's normal again. So this being such a small blip in an adult's memory, I had forgotten about my daughter's story until tonight, which is several months later. I saved the school's delivery for last on my route because it's the closest to the actual warehouse where we drop off the trucks after hours. I called and I made contact with the evening janitor, Debbie, telling her that I'm heading her way. The delivery drop-off area is in the back parking lot of the school. As I approach, I see Debbie's already outside. She doesn't have a coat on and she looks spooked. When I park, I get out and I ask what she's doing out there. Debbie tells me that she swears she keeps seeing a small figure just barely out of the corner of her eye. She pauses, and I almost think she's not going to continue her story, but then, quieter, as if she's a bit unsure of herself, she says that she just saw a girl in a yellow dress peeking at her from the other side of the doorway. She said that she had to go make sure a kid didn't somehow get inside the school. Entering the hallway, she expected to see a little girl in a yellow dress, but instead, she heard someone running up behind her. The sound made her scream. When she turned around, The hallway was still empty. She just ran out the side doors and waited for me to arrive. Debbie asked if I could do a walk around of the school before I left. After I dropped off the Waters, she and I checked every classroom before leaving. Full disclosure, I didn't personally feel anything. I didn't see anything out of place either. But Debbie's oddly specific account, it reminded me of my daughter's story. It seems hard to miss that the two are connected. I probably won't be asking my daughter about the girl in the yellow dress because I don't really want to scare her or bring up something that was negative for her. But next time I see Debbie, I'll ask if there's been anything new, and I'll give an update. Until then, happy trails to you.